Four friends grow up on the mean streets of New Jersey.
Wasn't for me, we all would have wound up with a bullet in our head.
They eventually form a singing group they name the Four Seasons.
The world is going to hear that voice.
But their allegiance to their previous way of life gets in the way of their newfound fame in Jersey Boys.
Hi, I'm Liz. I'm here with new guest Katherine Tulich and returning guest Tim Cogshell. We're here to discuss Jersey Boys. We've all just seen it. Tim?
Let's start with the positive. The songs and the performances really are exquisite. They're very, very good. Okay, that's all the positive. Frankie Valli. What can we say about Frankie Valli? Frankie Valli was a Jersey boy who was sort of mob adjacent, not exactly mobbed up. He was a stand-up guy who apparently paid all his debts, including everybody else's. Other than that, not a whole lot that's terribly interesting happened in Frankie Valli's life, and I think that's the problem of this film.
Well, Tim, I think you're being a little bit harsh on this. I mean, I think Frankie Valli's story is quite fascinating, and also the whole Four Seasons story is a classic sort of rags to riches story. And I mean, we see it played out constantly with people trying to sing their way to the top on American Idol and The Voice. And I really think this shows a story that, you know, people can see and how that happened and how they did rise to the top. But I think this is what made Jersey Boys such a success on the stage for 10 years, because it was quite a compelling story. And I can see why it was tailor-made for the cinema. It's kind of like a Goodfellas with music, and I can see why this should have been a really good film. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying that it really had all the elements that should have made this a great story and a great cinema piece.
I agree. It's an interesting story. I think there's a lot there, but it's Clint Eastwood trying to take it on. And I think the beginning of the film felt like Changeling. It felt like this pristine, beautiful, you know, all aesthetics, low energy drama. And then once the music starts kicking in, I'm like, I want to see Rob Marshall. I want to see choreography. I want to see the brass section kick into gear. But no, we still have that same Clint Eastwood patient treatment of the story.
Every moment in this film is stayed and staged. Some of that is intentional. It's a mistake either way. It doesn't feel like it's organically happening. I really feel like I'm watching a film literally made in the 50s and early 60s.
It feels precious. It feels very clean. And when Frankie Valli's character has his moment of culmination, when he really finds himself, when the brass section is there to support him and he's singing, "You're just too good to be true, can't take my eyes off of you," the film has no energy.
That's a pivotal moment in the movie.
Yeah, and that structure, that script, that's all these things that combine that weren't there.
Yeah, that pivotal moment in this movie, that is a moment in this movie. We all know what's coming. And Clint does set it up in this very particular way, and the curtain opens and the horns kick in, and you're supposed to soar. And it sounds like you do when you're watching the theatrical presentation.
In the musical,
film, I never took off.
Yeah, well, that's what I think the problem is. I mean, as much as Clint Eastwood has musical chops, and we know he has, you know, he has a great affiliation for jazz. He was in Pedro Wagon. He did Honky Tonk Man. I really don't feel that he had the right touch for this film. And I mean, to me, it was like, if anyone remembers vinyl, it's like, you know, playing a 45, you know, single on 33.
If you stripped the musical performances out of this film, strangely enough, you'd have a really great drama. And that's what Clint Eastwood is really wonderful at. But it's the music, it's all about the pace for me. It's not about these performances. I think Erich Bergen is great.
Good work in the film.
Well, I mean, and I think we do have to applaud Clint. I mean, there's a lot of debate always with cinema, you know, when you bring a musical to the movies. They were saying, you know, Audrey Hepburn was so criticised because Julie Andrews had made Eliza Doolittle, you know, her own on stage, and they throw Audrey Hepburn in with a fake voice. Now, I do have to applaud this film that Clint said, no, I'm going to put the stage actors in.
I like that.
And I really have to give him so much congratulations for that. He didn't try and put a Zac Efron in, which he could have. And, you know, and all the girlies would have lined up to come and see the movie. I do have to say, even though it's great to put stage people in, there are some problems with that. Because I do think with John Lloyd Young, you know, as with stage, you tend to over-emote. This was his first film. He probably hasn't learnt to draw it back.
He's a television guy.
Yeah, he hasn't brought to bring it back. And strangely enough, I did think one of the most successful people in this cast was Vicent Piazza, because he's on Boardwalk Empire and he's got more of the chops to be on screen.
Maybe we should put it to a vote.
A vote? All right, I see. Now we got a democracy. All right, let's put it to a vote. Should Bob hand the money, yay or nay? Huh? Hey! Well, that's my vote.
This is not Clint Eastwood's best work, and I think that's a perfectly fair thing to say.
That's clear. That's very clear. But people aren't going to see this movie because it's a Clint Eastwood film. They're going to see it because it's a musical, and they want to be lifted up, and they want to be energized and have adrenaline running through their system, listening to the fun 60s music, and they're not going to get that.
So the music in this film is fantastic. The Four Seasons music was extraordinary. This is, in fact, musical theater, and that's where it should have stayed. Skip it.
I think this is still a great story of a great American legend and fantastic music. If you can't get to the theatre, stream it.
Though it's a mismatch of director and material, I'm still going to say stream it.
So our votes add up to one whole ticket. That's a stream it.
Cheers!
Yes.
Yeah, I can nap through that.
Oh.
Sherry, Sherry baby. I still can't get that song out of my head. Sherry in my head.
That's because you like that song. It's not because
Not really.
You're gonna have to go up a couple of octaves.